I'm going to cover some functionality that's newer to the Leostream platform, and it has to do with scheduling. Now, there are two types of scheduling that you can do in the Leostream platform. The first has actually been around for about a release or two now, and that's the ability to schedule capacity. And what do I mean by that? Capacity is essentially, if you're talking about a virtualized environment or up in the cloud, particularly up in the cloud, capacity is the amount of compute that you have available for end users to connect to. And if you're in a public cloud, then you know that you pay for that compute, both when it's running and when it just plain old exists. You've got storage costs associated with that. So what we have in the broker is ways for you to schedule based on day and time, increases and decreases in capacity, and we'll automate for you. So you can set it up once and it runs for you, and that helps you minimize your compute costs during downtimes. What it also allows you to do is ensure access during peak demand times. So maybe you want to have a nominal amount of compute always available up in the cloud, but you know that you have a lot of users coming in at 9, so you want to burst up a lot more capacity in the cloud during that time. So these are the couple of the things that you can automate using our provisioning scheduling. I'll show you that in the demo coming up here. The other part that's new is limiting access based on time of day. So this is about having capacity already available and then determining who gets to use it based on the time of day or the day of the week. And there's a number of great use cases for this. One that's come up on a lot of our customers recently is classroom applications. So in higher ed, we're seeing people want to schedule access to labs or to classrooms. And so they have a suite of 20, these are physical machines sitting in the classroom, and they need to be able to say, well, from 1 to 2, this is a physics classroom, and from 2 to 3, it turns into calculus. And so they can schedule the students that have access to those rooms using the new time-based access control rules in our policies. This is also great for sharing resources between different groups of users based on different times in any kind of industry, whether that's M&E, oil and gas, whatever you have. If you have a set of resources that need to be shared among shift workers, whatever, you can use our new scheduling access to do that. So let me show you how both of these work by sharing my screen and showing you the broker. Now, of course, this is not my broker. The demo I'm going to show you is actually running up here in Google Cloud Platform, just so I can show you some of the spinning up of capacity. I have a broker running here right now, so this is the broker I'm going to show you. And then I currently do have a few desktops already up and running. So here you see my public IP. That's this broker right here. Now I'm going to log in as the main connection broker administrator. Now I'm not going to step through the whole interface. We have other demos, so if you're new to Leostream, you can kind of view through those to get a feel for how this works. But essentially, let me show you some of the basics and then show you the scheduling features. The first basic I want to show you here is that for this particular demo, I'm actually going to show you logging into Leostream using my Gmail account, using Google as the authenticator. So to do that, I have set up our Google account as a SAML provider inside of Leostream. So the only authentication server I have here is Google, essentially. Now, the trick about this is usually what you want to do when you are authenticating users into Leostream is assign policies out to those users based on their group memberships. Are they part of the management team? Are they part of development? What have you? For reasons I can't explain, you'll have to talk to Google. Their SAML authentication and the way that they send back the attributes won't automatically send back the user's group memberships. It's not just it won't automatically do it, it'll never do it. There's no current way in their SAML assertion to send back the Google groups that you've added your users to. But there is a way around that. It's a little bit tricky, but what you can essentially do is create custom attributes for your users and then make the values of the custom attributes match the Google groups that they're in. I'm not going to show you how I did that inside of Google, but I'll show you what that looks like inside of Leostream once we get to looking at our users and everything. So I'm going to log in using Google. And then here I've created a center for my Google Cloud region. So I'll ignore this, I'm in debug mode. And so this is the information that I needed to enter into the center so that the connection broker could interact with Google Cloud Platform. So using that project ID and the service account that I created, I can inventory the machines and the images that are in my region and also do the provisioning and power control that I need to do. So the setup got me kind of situated, connected to my authentication server and my Google Cloud platform. Now I'm going to look at the scheduling aspects in particular. The first one I want to look at is the pooling. So I have one pool here called Schedule in GCP. So the way our pools are set up, the top part here is the pool definition. It's where you indicate what rules define what desktops are part of this pools. Our pools are very dynamic. So as we discover new machines with this pool definition that satisfy this pool definition, we'll automatically sort them into the pool. So here I'm very simply saying any desktop whose name starts with GCP. And then down here, I enable provisioning. Now, if you look at the way this is set up, the provisioning limits determine how big is this pool, how much capacity is there. Nominally, I'm saying there's none. I'm in the cloud. I don't want to run things when I don't need them. So I have set up a nominal provisioning limit of 0. But I've also set up the option to enforce provisioning limits based on time of day. And here is where you can indicate, based on the day, what times and what thresholds do I want during that period. So you can expand and collapse this pool to different amounts based on different times and different days. If you are in a current threshold, we highlight that one in green. So you can see here that I'm actually in Thursday, and this limit is coming up awfully quick. So let's make it 5 minutes later so my desktops don't get deleted on me. So what happens here? Notice here, I wanted a minimum threshold of 2 with a maximum of 10. So here in my pool size information, sure enough, I have 2. When 5:45 hits, what happens then is it reverts back to the nominal values, or if another schedule kicks in, the next schedule's values. So at 5:45, my nominal values are 0. The broker will automatically deflate the pool. It'll delete any desktops that are unassigned to try to get back to 2. And I say try because if a user is assigned to a desktop, we're not going to delete the desktop on the user. You'll use release plans to automatically delete that when they use out. But if there are just idle machines sitting out there, we will delete or terminate as many as possible to get down to the lower threshold. So let me go ahead and save that before my minute goes by and my machines start deleting. So that is scheduling in provisioning. You notice I have another pool here, which is a management pool. I did use provisioning to create this pool, but in this case, it's just static. I wanted one machine in here, I provisioned it off, and now I'm not going to use that for provisioning anymore. So this is more of a persistent pool than a non-persistent pool. So 2 things I'll show you for my persistent pool, because this is cloud and I want to make sure I'm not getting charged for resources I don't need to use. I did create a power control plan that will automatically shut the machine down when the user logs out. And for my non-persistent pool, that one that schedules the machines, I created a release plan that's going to delete the machine when the user logs out. So those are kind of the 2 important pieces there. Now policies, here is where you can do the scheduling of the access to these pools. So you have kind of these 2 levels. I can schedule the capacity and then I can schedule the access to that capacity. So let's look at my policy here. So here, I'm going to offer one machine from the management pool, which is my persistent pool, but for this one based on time of day. So now here, if the user logs in via Google through that SAML, and the SAML attribute, it's returning a parameter group name. If that group name contains management and it's this time of day, then the user will have access to this pool. Here I'm also offering it to management at a different time of day, but maybe I can want to add in someone here in development and offer it at a different time of day there as well. So I offer one machine from my persistent based on time of day, and then I actually am offering one machine based on from the scheduled pool as well. And in this case, I'm offering it at all times of day because the scheduling is kind of handling or scheduling of the pool, I should say, is kind of handling if there's a resource available for that user or not. Now to do the assignment of that policy out to users, I come down here to the assignments page, and you notice here I have a table that allows me to assign policies to users based on this group name attribute. And this group name, this attribute, is the custom attribute that I created in our G Suite or G Workspace these days. So if that group name contains management, then the user gets management policy. I can actually even prevent logins for anyone else who happens to log in. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so what does this look like? To show you the authentication, let me open an incognito window and then copy paste this address here. So now I'm going to the main URL for my connection broker, but because SAML authentication is installed, it's actually going to redirect me over to the Google sign-in where I can sign in. Now, because I am in incognito mode, it's going to do my username and password, and then it's actually going to ask me for my two-step verification using Google Authenticator. So my number just went red, so I'm going to give it 2 seconds to circle back to blue, and then type 806-257. And just so I can do that again on the next demo, click that, and then hit next. So my policy offered me, remember, 2 machines. This one happens to be stopped, and you can offer machines stopped or running machines. This one's running. And if you offer the user stop machines, you can actually give them the option to start the machine themselves. And this is a really nice way to give the user some feedback. You could not have the start and just have connect, and we would power the machine on behind the scenes, and they would just be waiting, kind of wondering what's going on. But here I can click start, and we'll see that machine start up here if I hit refresh in Google Cloud. So now that machine is starting up. So this is going to sit here and spin until the remote viewer parts are open and the agent's ready for the connection to ensue. So while we're doing that, let's go ahead and connect to this other one. So I will hit connect on there. Now, since this was a SAML login, there's no password to pass to the RDP connection. So what I need to do then is actually type my password in, and I will get connected to my machine there in brilliant full screen. So what we can see in the background here in the broker, back here, if I look at the system log page, you can see all of this going on. So if I look at my login, there's my login. I was offered the 2 machines. I requested to start. So that's going on in the background. While that was going on, it went ahead and launched the connection to the other machine I requested a connection to. And because that caused me to go below my threshold of 2 required machines, it kicked off provisioning in the background. And that's what's going on back there. So over here on the desktops page, I can see all the machines. So this is the one I connected to. This one's now running. So I could go back and connect to it now if I wanted to. And then this one is in the provisioning state being started. So now, if I look at the log, and I find this set marker as a handy way for me to see what does the broker think the current time is. And you notice it's in military time here. And this is essentially the time of the database that the connection broker is attached to. So while I'm sitting in US East right now, this actually is likely UTC because of where I have the broker running up in Google Cloud. So that's why my times were set like that. So it says it's 17:45. So if I look over here in my pools, so now I am no longer in this time range here. So now the broker is going to revert back to wanting to have 0 machines running in that pool. And so behind the scenes, it'll start terminating machines. And so you see the 2 machines being deleted there. It's not my machine. My machine is still peacefully being used here. It will get deleted when I log out. So if I go ahead here and log out, sign out, because of my release plan, once that sign out is complete, the agent will register the logout and then the machine will get deleted. And sometimes it takes a little while for the machine to log out and the agent notification to come in. Now, if I go back and look at my incognito window here, if I sign out and sign back in, now it's still, this machine hasn't been deleted yet, so it's still there, but it'll soon go away. And this one I can connect to now because it is powered on. And that is essentially the scheduling. So if you would like to give it a try, just drop us a line at sales@leostream.com. We offer free trials, and we're happy to do demos to give you a little more in-depth knowledge of everything else that Leostream can do for you. Thanks.